Hi, I'm Jared. I'm the new president of the Moora Squash Club. Um, we're a club now that's been going since 1984. Over the years, we've had plenty of highs and lows throughout country life, and we've had good attendance rates of recent years. We are now running a summer competition, which is really quite successful. We were quite surprised with the amount of people who took to it. Now that we've been running this summer competition, we've really realised amongst committee members and club members that we do actually need to have a good look at what type of cooling or ventilation that we can actually ascertain through a grant. So this is something that will be very beneficial to present and future players in our summer competition, and we'll be able to really advertise the fact that we've got the summer competition happening, and we can reassure people that we are actually in a position where it's not going to be blistering hot throughout those summer months playing squash. So we also have a junior competition that has been running now for quite some years. It was started by one of the passionate members of the club who had a very good junior player who was up and coming, and inspired her to help other juniors as well in the Moora area to realise their potential. So she developed a good and quite successful junior competition, also a junior training system. And this, as I said, has been running now for quite a number of years. She has had to move to Perth for a few years, so it's been taken up by another member of the squash club to carry that on. So we're still being able to look after the juniors, and I mean, you know, it's also for really young kids as well, you know, a bit older than 4, to basically give them those motor skills, the hand-eye coordination, so to set them up for basically any sport that they choose to do in their future years. So obviously we would love them to do squash in Moora. That would be great, obviously, for the club as well. So we've had this junior system going for a while. We haven't had any new equipment purchased for a little while now. Some of the glasses are being broken, some of the rackets are being broken, some of the rackets have grips that need redoing. You know, they're not looking quite so flash these days. So we need to buy some more rackets, we need to buy some more glasses, we need to buy some more grips. We're also low on a few coaching aids as well that we hope that we'll be able to get some funding through. So at the moment we're doing relatively well with the junior system. We're looking at having roughly about 15 juniors playing each week, just doing training sessions and you know, just practicing basically. We've got another kid at the moment who is looking at starting to participate a bit more than just doing training systems, so that's quite beneficial for the club. And so we've got some juniors who have done quite well for themselves. They've represented Western Australia multiple times in state championships and have done quite well. We've also had we've got currently a girl who is still at the club, who has also represented WA in state championships. She's quite an up-and-comer now. She's doing quite well. We've brought her now into playing with the senior competition, and she has excelled ever since we have brought her into that. So, you know, we're really looking forward to these other kids that are going to come through this system. we've done well in the past. We plan to keep on doing well into the future, and hopefully we can pump out a few more of these state players and squash kids that are actually really interested in the sport and really want to go further and celebrate that through the sport. So the other thing we've also got is we now run regular training sessions for juniors, obviously, as a spoken. We also do it for adults. So also with the adults who are lower in the spectrum, quite new to the game, ones that are quite good at the game and are wanting to excel even further. So it's all thanks to a new player that's come to our squash club, who now is effectively our club coach, and he's also our vice captain of the pennants. So he is really invigorating the club through putting this in place, which is making people see results. They're able to see, how they're advancing in the game. They're being inspired by that, and as a result, they're loving the game a lot more. They're also tending to talk to some of their friends and get their friends involved as well, which is really good for the club. And we also are starting to do a social competition. So some people seem to be a bit worried or daunted by the pennants, the competition. So we decided that we'll have more of a social environment for those people to play with no strings attached. It's a social, casual basis, and that's currently being implemented. We have run it a couple of times so far in the last few weeks, and we're looking to advertise that and really make a good go of it. We've had a lot of our pennants members quite interested in doing it, because what we are doing is running a social ladder. So that's where you can challenge a person 2 spots above you. So we've got the whole list of the people who are in the club, all of our members, and they are able to challenge people and go up that ladder. So that's creating a nice bit of in-house competition between people to try and challenge them for their position on the ladder. So that's invigorated that a little bit, and yeah, it's quite good. So last year we did participate for the first time in quite a few years, about 5 or 6 years, in the country championships at Moora in September. Now, we had one team of 4 players, quite strong. We did really quite well. We won 12 out of our 16 games, out of sessions with Jolton, Kalgoorlie and Karratha. So we won 3 out of those 4 ties. We only lost on points against Narrogin. We were actually 2 matches each in that tie, and therefore we lost on points in that particular instance. So we did quite well. Narrogin did quite well. Unfortunately, there was a little bit of an error with the referees and the officials that did actually make a mistake, and unfortunately it put us in 3rd place, which didn't qualify us for the final. But in actual fact, with our scores, we were actually meant to have been eligible. So that was a bit disappointing, a little bit bittersweet. We went in there with nothing to lose, and we ended up qualifying for the finals, but unfortunately it was too late that we realised the mistake, and the finals were already underway. So this year, 2018, we're coming back with something to prove. Hopefully we'll be able to bring back a award for the club, and yeah, just do the club proud. And we have got quite a lot of interest now in the club, so we may be running 2, maybe 3 teams this year. We're also trying to get a inter-town social competition taking place. We have got a nearby club, Wongan Hills, which is about an hour away. So we're trying to see if we can have a intertown social with them, just network with our closest squash club, which hasn't been done for quite some time now, and they've got not quite as many members as we do, so hopefully we can also help them out with maybe inspiring some of their members to bring some people into their club. So hopefully we can get that up and running, and hopefully we can even see if some of them want to join our country team's team this year. That would be quite good if that could happen. So on to more of the club. So the club, we have had quite a good season last season. So we run a winter competition which runs from term 2 and term 3 of a school year, and then we run what we call a summer competition that runs from term 4 and term 1. So these are kind of split obviously with the school holidays, and they have been quite successful. Like I said, we've run the summer one. We didn't have probably 2 or 3 people play on in summer that normally play in winter due to other sports around town that they play. Gets in the way of things, and therefore we did lose a couple of people there. A few people did also say that it was a little bit too hot to play, knowing what the courts were like towards the end of the winter season. We did have a few hot days. So yeah, some of those people didn't seem to be too interested. So hopefully if we get this grant, if we are able to get the ventilation system in place, which should turn over that air quite nicely and make it a lot more comfortable in here, that we'll be able to continue with a few extra people and maybe get some more people in. And with the modifications and the upgrades to the building, I'm sure that'll be quite a draw card that we can advertise quite strongly to enable us to get some more people into the club. It'll be a great sport to play in summer. There's not many activities to do after hours in Moora in terms of sport. So squash is quite a good sport to play indoors. Like I said, once we get this ventilation system, it's going to be quite hard to knock back the opportunity to be able to play at the squash courts here in Moora. So the next thing that we're looking at trying to do is, you may be able to see behind me, we've got quite old and decrepit umpiring stands. So these stands have been told are probably not the best style of umpiring stand to have in this day and age. They were made by a member of the club back in the 80s. So they have been around for a while. I mean, they're still going strong, but we need to keep up with the times, and therefore, hopefully, through this grant as well, we'll be able to address that safety and be able to have a raised platform and viewing platform for the umpires that stretches across the back of these courts here. That should make it a lot more safe, give a new perspective for players to view the game. The other thing in our proposal with the ventilation is also to move that air around a bit as well. So it's not just to take that hot air out, it's also to move the air around within the building. So we are proposing to also include some fans, some ceiling fans. We do have ceiling fans at the moment, but the fans are a bit old, a bit decrepit as well, like a number of the building items. So hopefully we can get some bigger fans. We're also thinking about putting just the single fan towards the back of the court, because we do actually have quite low ceilings here compared to quite a lot of the other clubs throughout Australia. So hopefully what we can do here is mitigate some of that issue there, where whilst playing the sport, whilst serving, a lot of players do like to try and do a lob serve back into the corner, and when you're doing that, that front fan is a lot of the time in the way, a lot of the time it hits that fan. So if we can remove that fan and put a larger fan at the rear of the court, that should get rid of that issue. Also, every now and again, you might do quite a nice high, tight serve, which almost hits the roof and sometimes can hit the lights. So we're also hoping to recess those lights into the ceiling and also change them at the same time to more energy efficient LED lighting. And yeah, that's pretty much all. So basically, one of the things I just spoke about was the umpiring stand. So as you can see here, this is our umpiring stand. So with a lot of the kids and the juniors that we have playing, sometimes they can get into a little bit of mischief climbing on this. And we don't obviously want to have any issues, so hopefully if we can get that mezzanine or viewing platform, that'll be really great. So the idea, like I have kind of said before, is basically along the back of the courts here. Hopefully we've got 2 courts here. Hopefully that can stretch the whole way along the back here, come back in about 1.5 meters, which will give us about 2.2 meters in between the back of the proposed platform to the back of the courts. So that'll still give us nice ventilation space, just enough headroom up the top, and give us a great perspective. And a lot of the players don't really like going up after playing a hard game. We have got a few older members within the club, which is great. And sometimes they do struggle getting up these little steps here up to the top after a hard slog on the squash courts. So this is basically our squash courts. Like I said, two courts. We've just recently had some maintenance done on the rear of the court, so they've been patched up. We did actually have quite a number of holes in the back wall of the courts, which is now, as I said, being patched up, which is great. So another thing, obviously, for the spectators, we're looking at having some fans put on the walls here to then blow back onto the spectators, because basically all we need here is to have a space that is ventilated a lot better than it currently is. These are the only windows we've got, which are 4 little tiny windows that can only open half the way, and this window at the end can't even open. So when we've got the wind, which isn't very often, it doesn't seem to circulate within the building because there's no windows on the opposing side to circulate that air. So if we can put in some exhaust fans in the ceiling, maybe some fans in the wall to blow cooler air from the outside in. We normally do play in the later hours of the day, so therefore outside is most likely going to be, and generally is, cooler than the inside. So we're also looking at obviously getting better cabinetry. Now, we have actually just purchased last year this cabinet here on the floor, which has got a lot of the junior rackets and equipment in, and that's fine. We don't have a problem with that. That's really good. Now, this one that we've got on the wall here, which at the moment it looks really awesome with all of our photos from the last few years for the juniors, is on this one. But this is a little bit old and decrepit now. We're looking at maybe utilising most of this space up here to fill it all in, basically, with cupboard space to be able to hold a lot of the equipment that hopefully we can get through the grant as well. So over here is our new social ladder that I spoke about. We've got the ladder happening over on this side. This is just our pennants, fixtures and everything in the middle, and just a few photos of us from Country Week last year, which was, like I said, an awesome event to be involved in, and we're going to be back for some more revenge next year. So that's basically a lot of the stuff. We were looking at getting a water cooler, because on site we actually don't have any cold water. We have only a tap in the toilets, of which we can get our water from. So we're hoping to be able to bring in a water cooler, and also a cooler that actually has a heating ability as well, which we found, which I think will be quite valuable, because then later at night, when a lot of these farmers that play, a lot of the just people that live in towns that are just out of town, they are then able to take advantage of that and have a hot coffee or a cup of tea before they make their journey back home. And aside from that, obviously we have on tap nice cold water when it's in summer and we want it. So now that's pretty much all. That's all I think I need to talk about. We've talked about the coaching equipment. So that's pretty well all of it. So
I like playing squash.
And why do you like playing squash, buddy?
Playing balls.
Because you like playing with balls? And what about all the other friends? Have you got any friends at squash?
Some playing in there.
You like playing inside? What do you like playing for?
Hide and seek.
You like playing hide and seek on the squash court? What else do you like doing on the squash court?
Playing in squash court.
You just like playing in the squash court? Do you come down and watch other people play?
Yeah.
And do you have fun doing that, or don't you like it?
I like it.
You like it? Why do you like it?
Because I like to like it.
You like to like it?